So we go to the presentation of the findings. The presentation will proceed as follows. The first part will be done by our project leader and director of Third World Studies Center, Dr. Maria Ella Atienza. And the second part will be presented by Clarinda Lusterio Berja, Assistant Project Leader, Third World Studies Center project for Testing Human Security Index. Thank you. So let us begin.
Thank you, Mers. Actually, what I'll do at the first portion of our presentation is to introduce the project and present the outline and some background. And Claire will actually discuss the survey results, and then later I will also discuss some of the findings from the FGDs and the key informant interviews. But first, let me acknowledge the presence, of course, of the people from OPAP, from the previous to the present group of coordinators. Actually, that was our experience with OPAP. We deal with different people at every stage of the project. Okay. And also, of course, we have representatives from the National Security Council and, of course, my colleagues from the Department of Political Science. But allow me to acknowledge the other members of the team aside from Claire and myself. Of course, our research associate for this project is one of the reps of the Third World Studies Center, Ms. May Cruz, and at the same time, we have invited some of our field coordinators. At this point, we only have our field coordinator from Haniway, Iloilo, Ms. Donna Magno. So thank you for coming. Our other field coordinator representing Mulanay, she is actually the director of the PUP Mulanay campus. Adel Rodilla is caught in traffic, but we hope she can make it. And of course, we are always supported by the administrative staff of the Third World Studies Center. So, briefly, in terms of presentation outline, ask for yours. Okay, so very briefly, I will discuss the project background, the current project's objectives, research design, and methodology, then turn over the presentation to Claire, and later I will give briefly the results of the FGDs, the interviews, and some tentative conclusions and proposed next steps. So, in terms of project background, can we go to the next slide? Okay. Actually, this is our fourth engagement with UNDP, CPPB, and OPAP. The Third World Studies Center started working with OPAP in 2006 with the Policy Dialogue Series towards a Human Security Framework, and then of course the project on developing a Human Security Index for the Philippines from 2007 to 2008. Later on, there was a publication project publishing the results of the exploratory study, and of course, the current project. Now, briefly, if we look at, or if we, for those of you familiar with our exploratory study, it explored the various dimensions of human security as perceived and experienced by individuals in the community, major stakeholders, and duty bearers. And what that exploratory study produced was a draft human security index, and we were hoping that it can be used as a planning and evaluation tool to guide policymakers, civil society organizations, and non-government organizations. We also envisioned the index or the draft index to describe the scope and magnitude of human security in the Philippine context, incorporating various dimensions. And in terms of framework of human security, and this will be the same framework that we are using for the current project, we're following the Commission on Human Security's definition of human security as a condition whereby the individual is protected from critical, immediate, and pervasive threats to his or her life, liberty, property, and community. So it's a threat-based analysis of human security. In terms of referent objects, we're focusing on the individuals, but we look at the individuals as part of a community where he or she derive freedom, rights, and identity. So the community is also a referent object, and we're using the 7 dimensions of UNDP in terms of looking at the dimensions of threat. So then, of course, the results of this exploratory study was published in 2009. If you want extra copies, we have copies available. Okay. So now we go to the current project. Originally, as mentioned by Ferdy, we proposed 8 pilot areas, 3 areas in Mindanao, but due to, of course, administrative constraints on the part of UNDP, CPPB, OPA, and also on our part in terms of the progress of our report, only 5 municipalities in Luzon and the Visayas were funded. So for this current project, it was designed to employ our draft index on human security to measure human security in 5 municipalities. And we want to generate baseline indicators and explore the feasibility of institutionalizing the survey to generate a human security index in these local government units. So in terms of specific objectives, aside from generating baseline studies, we also want to document the experiences of certain localities in generating human security data and determine the prospects of institutionalizing the index at the local level. We wanted to determine to what extent the proposed HSI could be used at the local government and national level, particularly in planning and monitoring peace and development programs, in particular how it can interface, for instance, with existing data systems like CBMS, the Minimum Basic Needs Framework, and to formulate recommendations on the focus and implementation of the peace program in the country, and if possible, identify and capacitate local champions in human security. In terms of research methods, we have updated the document review that we have started in the exploratory portion of the study, covering now existing indicators at the local level where the human security index can be interfaced. We also conducted surveys in 5 municipalities. And of course, we conducted FGDs and key informant interviews. But later, I will explain why we only did FGDs and key informant interviews in 4 of the 5 municipalities. So for the survey findings and a description briefly of our survey instrument, I turn over the microphone to Claire. Magpapalit na.
So I'll be describing to you So I'll be presenting to you the survey results. Yung mga litrato ng mga lugar na pinuntahan namin. Identify nyo pa kung saan ang haliway dito doon. Hindi mo alam kung saan ang haliway dito. Saan nandun yung haliway. So, as mentioned by Ella, we conducted a survey. We randomly selected 10 barangays from 5 municipalities. The 5 municipalities were selected by OPA. Hindi random yung pag-select namin ng municipalities. These are municipalities from Luzon and Visayas na mayroong history of conflict. Okay. So in each barangay, so for each municipality, we have 10 barangays. For each barangay, we covered 40 households. And this was done using a two-stage systematic random sampling. So we have a total of 2,000 household interviews in the 5 pilot municipalities. So the eligible respondent is the household head. Now, if the household head is not there, we get the spouse of the household head. But we make sure that we will have 50-50 distribution for males and females, because we also assume differences in terms of perception about human security by sex. Interview dates, it happened in January 2011 to March 2011, and there. So these are the municipalities. We have in Northern Luzon, Sadanga, 5th class municipality. So we covered all 8, except for Sadanga, walo lang yung barangays. Kasi 8 lang yung barangays nila. So it's like a census in Sadanga. So Anabel, Deligan, Belwang, Bepuagan, Demang, Poblacion, Sakasaan, and Saknip. Okay? Medyo challenging yung fieldwork chat kasi walang transportation, we have to hike. So it took time before we're able to finish. And then Mulanay, which is classified as a first-class municipality, but when you go to Mulanay, it doesn't look like a first-class municipality. So 10 barangays also, and spread out throughout the municipality. In Gubat, second-class municipality, 10 barangays. Haniway had a total of 10 barangays. Haniway is also second-class municipality, and Morsha in Visayas. So, yan yung mga pinasahan namin. I don't know if this is very useful, but I just want to show you that our respondents are mostly ages 30 and above. So, medyo, kasi mga household heads nga sila eh. And their majority are coming from rural areas. So, sa Dangga, 99% rural. But in all other municipalities, we have majority of respondents in the rural areas. What is human security? I think this was discussed earlier. Human security takes its shape from the human being. The vital core is to be protected. So yung keywords dyan are safeguard the vital core of human beings from critical and pervasive threats. Usually when we present results of our study, ang palagi tinatanong, ano ba difference niya sa human development index? So, ito yung tatlong keywords that would differentiate it, particularly yung critical and pervasive threats. Pag sinabi mo, what do you actually safeguard? Human security is deliberately protective. Events well beyond their control is being considered an events that come as a surprise, like disasters, which are very damaging. Yun yung focus sa human security. For example, minimize the damage and death caused by earthquake, by building-resistant buildings, kung nasa urban areas ka, or even in rural areas. Minsan kasi, sa experience, yung mga baha, yung mga elementary schools na pinupuntahan para evacuation, lubog din sa baha. So, kailangan tignan mabuti kung planuhin mabuti kung in case of a disaster, saan ba sila pupunta, ano yung risk na meron. Vital core, vital core is a non-technical term for concerns that lie behind human security. It may be defined in the space of capabilities that people have to do and to be. Elements of the vital core are fundamental human rights, which all persons and institutions are obliged to respect or provide, even if obligations are not perfectly specified. So this emphasis on human beings distinguishes human security from the objective of protecting state securities that dominated security policies in the 19th and the 20th century. So the project, na-argue namin that human security could be the starting point for human development. So meron kang base, okay, and you have the minimum human survival requirements and basic psychological needs. That's part of human security that is necessary in order for a country to take off, in terms of human development. So concentrating on a secure base offers immediate benefits in terms of threat management and economic stability, and also stands to improve the effectiveness of long-term development efforts. So as Ella mentioned earlier, ito yung mga 7 dimensions that we considered, no, UNDP. So why do we measure human security? 2 reasons: to identify and locate human insecurities, so studying the relationships between multiple insecurities that could reveal change of causality and cumulative impacts not currently recognized, articulated, or quantified. And then number 2, to provide an objective evidence of trends that can be of great value for policymaking and as well as political debate. So, gusto namin i-highlight yung importance ng threat assessment. Kasi when you have a clear idea about the threat, no, kayang-kaya mong i-identify yung positive at saka yung negative indicators, which would, change the direction of human development. So, maaaring magbago. So, ito yung base lang natin. If you have positive indicators, pwedeng tulungan niya yung human development efforts to take off. While yun namang negative, kahit na ganong i-propel mo yung human development, kulang siya kung wala yung base ng human security. So that's basically our framework. Actually, our study generated multi-level data. We have individual, we have household data and community data, and then we have multi-respondents. We have individuals, citizen, and we have local government officials, and we have yung mga marginalized sectors. So these are the initial findings. Ang dami, no? Kasi lima yung municipality. So, bawat cluster is a municipality. Okay? So, 37% consider their family as poor, 51% think that they remain poor, and 23% said that they became even worse. So, that is as far as economic condition is concerned. Okay? So, except for Mulanay, majority place their family in the moderate category of poverty. So, alam niyo naman yung mga Pilipino, kung sinabi mo, ano yung poverty status ninyo? Okay lang, tama lang, ganyan, just right. So most of them, ang sinabi, just right. Okay? Pero yung just right nila, ang problema doon, became even worse. Okay? Those who said that they are poor, meron pong proportion sa kanila sabi, they even became poorer. Yun yung problema. 1 out of 5 experience food scarcity in their barangay. So about 19.2% reported experience of involuntary hunger or without anything to eat at least once in the past week. Ganun siya ka-specific. Okay? Ang question, in the past week, naranasan mo ba na magutom? Okay? So that's 19.2%. We also asked them, magkano ba yung ginagastos for rice? Although, yung iba, they grow their own rice. No? On the average, they spend about 30% of the monthly income on rice alone. Na-surprise nga ako kasi yung mga probinsya, tapos bumibili sila ng rice nila. No? Majority reported that they have access to public health facilities, but only half of them have medical insurance. So, very good naman in terms of health. Andyan yung mga barangay health stations, yun yung mga dark red na yan. Which else? RHU, so each municipality will have at least an RHU. There are municipalities without RHU, but pumupunta yung doktor from an adjacent municipality. Pag tinignan mo yung ito, 5th class talaga, sa Tanga, yan yung government hospital. Okay? So, Molinay, they have Gubat, hindi pwede, malapit sa kanila yung government hospital. Morsha, Meron, this is Gubat. Okay? Tapos, itong traditional or alternative sources of health services, matataas pa rin, ano? Except for Manila and Morsha. Tapos, nandyan din, hindi masyado yung mga NGO tsaka yung mga private clinics, wala masyado. Except in Gubat. Majority of them said that they could reach the facility, which is the barangay health station lang naman kasi within 15 minutes, no? Kasi karamihan barangay health station naman yung sinabi. Large majority, or 83%, have experienced natural disaster in the past year. So yung mga na-experience ng natural disaster, halos lahat. West and Morsha. Ang binahaya pa yung Bacolod no? Anyway. Siyempre mataas yung Gubat. Suki. It's a disaster. And, tinanong namin, ano yun? It's really typhoon. Tapos, siyempre, lalabas sa Tanga yung landslide. 6 in 100 respondents claimed that they were a victim of crime in the past year. Only a third of the crimes were reported. So, ito yung mga hindi naging victim ng crime. Personally, ito yung naging victim ng crime. 6%. Actually, sabi nila mataas daw yan. Kasi, 6%. So, doon sa 6% na yun, 4% lang yung na-report. 1/3 hindi. And, ano yung mga crimes na yun? Iba yung malalaki. Naka-1. Ito yung green. Property theft. Okay? Except for Mulanay. Sa Mulanay, more on sila, property disputes. Ano yung property sa Dama and Hubat? Kaniwa yung masyado and worship. Shooting in shooting na, ano ba, Mulanay? Tapos, kanino nila nire-report? At least naman nandiyan pa rin yung police. Ano? Majority would report to the police, 60%. Okay, except in Sadanga, 44% lang sa police. More of barangay. About 7 out of 10 respondents consider their community as safe all the time and most of the time. So, yun yung hula. Okay? Sa Sadanga, sabi nila, most of the time, mataas, no? Niway, parang ang ganda sa Niway. Ay, sa picture. So, tinanong din namin sila kung ano yung concern nila. Natural disaster was mentioned as the most serious security issue in the community. So, pero nandoon din. Ito yung green, ano? Yan yung natural disaster. Pero malakas pa rin. Malakas sa Danga crime. The rest, native. Diba? So it's really crime and natural disaster. Overall, 18% experience armed conflict in their locality. So, ayan. So, sa Danga, may 37% pa. So, hinanap ko yan. Yes, currently, yes, naka-experience na ng armed conflict, pero wala na ngayon. Okay? Tapos yung blue, yun yung never, yun yung peaceful. Okay? So, sa Sadanga, yung pinakamataas na merong armed conflict currently.
Sa inyo.
Sa Mulanay, actually yung Mulanay daw kasi, hindi naman talaga sa Mulanay, dinadaanan lang sila. Oo. Kaya nagkakaroon pa rin. Pero sabi nila, generally tahimik na daw. Ubat, meron pa rin 90%, Aliway 16%, and Morsha 10%. Halos tahimik na sa Morsha. Sabi ko kay Ella, sabihin ko talaga to. Kasi yung 2007, ang top political security concern was, walaan niyo ko ano? 2007. Corruption, yun yung number 1. Hindi na siya top 1 ngayon. Ewan ko lang bakit. Sabi ko lang nakalimutan lang. Hindi tinatanong namin isa-isa eh. Ano prompted siya eh. So, unresolved wars involving insurgents, yun yung top answer, 41.7. Displacement of people in the community, 40.4%. Loss of livelihood due to armed conflict, 39.4%. Actually, mamaya pag kinuwento ni Ella yung results from the FGD, makikita niyo yung difference ng perspective ng mga people in the community and the local chief executive. Yeah. So, iba yung perspective nila. Iba rin yung at different levels din as, di ba? Yung local chief executive saka yung barangay captains. Iba rin yung, magkaiba din yung sinasabi nila. So to summarize, kasi dalawa yun, ano, so yung security, freedom from want, protection of right, economic, medyo malabo pa rin, food, ganun din, may gutom pa rin, health, actually conditional check yan eh, kasi may madaya yan dahil, you know, in barangay health centers, very limited naman yung services na pwede mong makuha. Pero chinek ko na rin, kasi at least ano doon sila. Environment, medyo malabo. Personal, yun yung crime rate, no? Conditional check din yan, community and political. Please bear in mind that these are all conflict areas kasi. Wala tayo ng medyo normal na political. So, tinanong namin sila about their perceived threat. No? So, meron bang threat sa security mo? So, define yung food security as I showed earlier. Mulanay and Gubat respondents perceive moderate to high level of threat, food security, while Sadanga, Niway, and Bursha reported low to very low threat. Okay, so mataas, sa Luzon. Parang puro ganun sa Luzon eh, mataas. Mulanay and Gubat respondents perceive moderate to high threat, security, while Sadanga, Niway, and Bursha reported low to very low threat. Ewan ko lang kung sobrang correlated kasi yung mga pitong dimensions. Majority of respondents in Mulanay and Gubat perceive moderate to high threat to economic security. Ganun pa rin sa Danga, Niway, and Bursha reported low to very low threat. Okay? I decided to show you the percentage distribution rather than the mean ratings kasi madaya yung mean ratings. If I compute the mean ratings, ang lumalabas mga 3 point something. So, yung picture, hindi mo makita mabuti. Pero you can also do that. Ganun din sa personal security. So, pwedeng mag-turista sa Sadanga na very low 63.3%. Or majority said na wala naman ito naman. Kaya lang maglalakad, kailangan maghanda mo. So, mataas sa Mulanay and Gubat. Mulanay and Gubat mataas. Environmental threat. Okay. Sa environmental threat, about half of the respondents in Sadanga, Niway, and Bursha reported to environmental threat. So, half-half. Meron nagsabi na low, meron nagsabi na high. The high, it's because yung iba na doon sa communities na na dadayo ng disaster. Okay? Pero, dun sa mga previous dimensions, halos makita mo ang trend, mula na yung gubat ang high trend, diba? Tapos wala. Biglang sa environmental security, parang cuts across. All municipalities may problema sa environmental security. Community security, a large majority of respondents in Manila and perceive moderate to high level of threat to community security yan. Okay? Ganun din sa house. Okay? Kasi yung community security at environmental security parang highly correlated siya. So, meron yung results sa environmental at community security. And then lastly, large majority of those in Cuba perceive moderate to high levels of threat to political security, while half of those sa Danga, Niwa, and Morsha create the same thing. So, in terms of perception, yung freedom from one, mataas ang threat sa gubat at saka sa Dangay, gubat saka Mulanay. Okay? In terms of freedom from fear, okay, personal security, community, and all, parang lahat halos mataas, except that 50-50 yung three other municipalities. So, hindi masabi ng three other municipalities na low threat sila sa freedom from fear. Tapos, I computed mga correlation coefficients. So, to answer this question, is access to basic services related to perceived threat of human perceived threat or human insecurity? The higher proportion is access to mental education, the lower the perceived threat. The higher the proportion they experience involuntary anger, the higher perceived threat. So, just to establish the relationship between yung pag nagbigay ka ng basic services, magbabago ba yung perception nila dun sa threat. Okay. So, actually yun yung isa rin namin gusto mong i-explore, yung governance inputs and outputs. Tapos, yung isa pang hiligan namin ng mga correlations, yung capacity to address concerns related to perceived threat or human insecurity. So, ito rin, again, yung governance input, no? So, pero this is coming from the individuals in the community. Sa tingin pa nila, they have the capacity to get these services. Do they have the capacity to get medical care when needed? So, lumalabas, weak, positive, significant. Okay? So, positive, ibig sabihin, if they think that they are capable of getting medical care, no, the higher the capacity, the lower the higher the threat. But it is a weak positive relationship. Okay, so medyo mahirap siyang intindihin. Okay. Actually, ako rin hindi ko masyado ma-explain. Kasi, if you have a positive relationship, ibig sabihin, higher X, higher Y. Diba? So, pag mataas yung access mo, yung sa tingin mo, you have the capacity, the higher the proportion of those who said they have capacity to get medical care when needed, no? The higher the threat. No? Inisip ko din, baka naman mas expose sila sa health services kasi nagkakasakit sila. Okay? Of course, this is just correlation. The direction is both ways. Hindi siya kausal. Okay. Protect oneself from street violence. So, ganun din. Moderate, positive, and it's significant. Okay? So, ito kailangan pang pag-aralan. Okay? Intake of at least 3 meals per day. Weak, positive. So, pag hindi niya meron siyang capacity to, mas mataas yung score niya dun sa human insecurity. Okay? Get preventive care for infectious diseases analysis, moderate, positive, and significant. Keep self-help by having proper medical knowledge, weak, positive. Give birth in a safe and hygienic environment, moderate, positive. Acquire continuous income to meet the minimum standard of living, weak, positive. Old age support, moderate, negative, and insignificant. So, pag feeling mo meron kang capacity to get old age support, then mas mababa yung feeling mo of insecurity. Okay? Resigning if harassed in workplace, weak, positive. Kasi baka nandun na yung threat nang iniisip ko kaya siya nagpa-positive Anyway, we will discuss that. Live in an area not easily damaged by disaster, weak, negative. Okay? So, pag feeling niya may capacity siya to live in an area not easily damaged by disaster, less likely na meron siyang threat. And significant. Pag N is not significant. So, yun lang muna yung ginawa namin, explore namin. So dito, no, sa education, ang significant, moderate, positive for nutrition, poverty, weak, negative. So the higher the proportion of those very poor, and the lower the threat. The higher the proportion with access to health, the higher the proportion, the lower
This
the
makes
threat.
sense.
Okay.
But the other one didn't make sense at all. This one makes sense.
Yes.
But the other one, it just doesn't make sense.
But this is just perceived capacity.
Yeah.
So baka merong something about
Or maybe the way they define human security in their heads, diba? Kasi parang yung sa disaster, okay, it
very
makes
clear
sense.
kasi yung sa sa basic services, it translates to feeling of security. Pero ito, pag sinabi mo, sa tingin mo ba, pag pupunta ka sa doktor, meron ka mapupuntahan. Parang, minsan kasi, nape-perceive mo meron, pero pag nangyari sa'yo, baka wala rin.
And siguro, like, for example, the idea of hunger, hindi pa nila associated with the idea of security. Parang kino-compartmentalize pa nila. It's interesting.
So, yeah. So, ito yung medyo kailangan ng aralin. Actually, pinag-uusapan na namin ni Ella. Parang, initially kasi we were thinking of an index. One number that would, measure human security. But as we analyze the data, lumalabas, kailangan mo talaga ipakita yung iba-ibang indicators. Kasi pag isang number lang siya, parang kasi gusto namin siya as a warning sign So, kailangan malaman saan nanggagaling yung source of insecurity, which dimension. So, kailangan mo siyang isa-isa. So, anyway, isa sa mga tentative conclusion based on the survey is that we can do further analysis. So we can even run, at least for the basic needs, we can already run regression models. Yung capacity, questionable pa siya. Gusto pa namin siyang i-relate with the other variables in the data set. No? Para ma-explain namin kung ano ba. But saan nanggagaling yung ganung perception about capacity and why is it not why our expected relationship is not showing. Wala tayong makita ng relationship. So, actually, yung tinitingnan namin, namin yung pangalan nyo. Ano kodigo yan? Sa likod. Pero, anyway.
Dati kasi si White gusto.
Oo, kasi isip namin paano nyo mag-gamit yung data So ngayon, kasi the data set contains indicators that would, support pangalan. So baka yung sa pag-aaway nila, some of the data here could shed light on the issues. Let's go to the more interesting part. Kasi ito talaga may pangalan may correspondent talaga eh. Si Leo ganyan.
Briefly, we'll just show you some of the results of the FGDs and the key informant interviews. Actually, the results are still quite fresh, still very raw and descriptive because we just had we conducted the FGDs and the key informant interviews just 2 months ago. So some of the data just came in last month, but we'll be showing you some interesting aspects. And we decided also to focus for the FGDs on some sectors that can be considered as special sectors or marginalized sectors because we felt that it might be difficult for the surveys to capture special concerns and concerns of other groups. And at the same time, we also wanted to include for the interviews the views of the mayors and the municipal planning and development officers because we want also to see their experience in data management and gathering. At the same time, we also wanted to see how they perceive threats in their communities, what are the organizations helping them, and at the same time, what are the things that they think they are doing, and you will also see some discrepancies in the views of the FGD participants and also the local chief executives. So personally, Claire and I were able to go to the FGDs in Mulanay with the students, for students from PUP Mulanay, and then also in Morsha. Okay, but for the FGDs and key informant interviews in Haniway and Gubat, we asked our field coordinators to facilitate the FGDs and do the interviews. So briefly for the FGDs, for Gubat Sorsogon, we focus on poor women. For Haniway, Iloilo, inland fisher folks who were formerly farmers but they shifted to inland fishing as a result of the promotion, the provincial and the municipal government's promotion of integrated and diversified agriculture. For Mulanay, Quezon, PUP students from poor families in different barangays in Mulanay. For Morsha, barangay officials from the pilot barangays. At this point, let me acknowledge the arrival of Dr. Adele Romadilla. She's the director of the PUP Mulanay campus. She's also our field coordinator for Mulanay, and our former director of the Third Study Center. She was the director during the first 2 projects we have with UNDP, CPTV. And of course, we have our visiting research fellows here. Okay, and then we also conducted key informant interviews, but maybe you're asking why only in 4 of the areas, same with the FGD, because I have been telling OPAC about this. We have some problems with our field coordinator in Satanga. Medyo mahirap siyang ma-reach at kung iintahin namin siya. Anyway, as Claire explained, we did almost a census in Satanga. Yun nga lang, we were not able to get the views of the local chief executive and the municipal planning and development officer. Sa Morsha, we were not able to interview the mayor because at that time may fiesta sa hacienda niya. Anyway, just summary in terms for Gubat, major threats for the FGD participants. Katulad ng results ng survey, major threats would include lack of livelihood opportunities, financial problems, and then poor nutrition. Perhaps because they are women, they really prioritize the nutrition of their children. They did not mention insurgency. But for the mayor, actually who happened to be a graduate of Poli-Sci in UP, Ronel, classmate of Aris, he mentioned insurgency because he said, currently there's a period of peace or calm, but he said that there's at any moment there could be a resurgence of conflict, and he's also he thinks it's a threat that there are so many restrictions from the DILG about how to spend the development fund. They cannot spend so much on social welfare. And for the municipal planning and development officer, she pointed out the problem of sustaining agriculture and fishing, and she pointed out the problem of he pointed out the problem of climate change resulting to flooding, particularly in areas that are traditionally not flooded. Okay. In terms of sense of human security for the FGD participants, well, their answer is that they're almost all secure now than before, but only a little bit. Ang definition nila ng human security is good governance, better social services, and available livelihood opportunities. So you can actually tell na when you ask them, are you secure now than before, it depends on how they view security. For Mayor Lim, because he defines human security as peace and order or decrease in conflict plus positive or increase in income, food, and health, he said that people are more secure now, but there are still problems with insurgency and flooding. For the municipal planning and development officer, she said that people are not yet secure because human security for him is the presence of peace. In terms of capacity to mitigate threats, for FGD participants, they said that people themselves can mitigate the threats together with family members, government, and lending institutions. For Mayor Lim, he said that people have the capacity, but this capacity is not yet sustainable. So you have the LGU currently intervening with prioritization of social infrastructures. Before, nung tatay niya yung mayor, hard infrastructure siya daw, soft infrastructure. And of course, they credited the DSWD's 40s and the Kalahi seats and OPAP's Pamana contributing to some of the changes. For the MPDO, the government intervention is still needed, but the LGU is instituting integrated coastal resource management. So iba-iba yung focus nila. They also have, now they have started on CBMS. They are now in the processing and cross-checking of data. And for the mayor and the MPDO, they really look at, they said that they need sound data for their planning. And they feel that human security indicators can be integrated if possible. They can be patterned after the MDGs and CBMS. Although, of course, lagi ang issue, they need technical assistance. Okay. For Haniway, for FGD participants in terms of threats, they mentioned extreme changes in weather or climate change, pests that ruin rice and other plants, high prices of commodities like farm chemicals, because all of them, according to the participants, lead to poor harvest, less income, and of course, baon sa utang. Okay. For Mayor Locsin, he is an advocate of reproductive health. Because he said the problem now is unchecked population growth in Haniway and there is a high number of indigents. For the Municipal Planning and Development Coordinator, the problem is poverty that leads to increases in crime rates. There was never a mention of insurgency. In terms of sense of human security for Haniway, FGD participants, generally they feel secure as individuals in their communities, though they are not sure that in shifting to inland fishing, their lives will be better. So they have a more holistic perception of human security. For Mayor Locsin, according to him, half of the population are now secure, and his goal is that at the end of his term, 63%. I don't know how he arrived at 63%. Okay, and he said human security means people are happy with enough food and other basic necessities, and they have to be educated. For the MPDC, because human security for him is defined as being secure in their own homes, far from dangers from bad elements, because you still have poverty leading to crimes, people are not yet secure. So iba-iba talaga yung standards nila ng human security. In terms of capacity to mitigate threats, For FGD participants, people strive more and farmers are now shifting to integrated farming. They're also thinking of farmers being organized so that they have more chances of lobbying and getting more funding. And the LGU and the Department of Agriculture provide technical and financial assistance. For the two local government officials, they also believe that the people have the capacity to mitigate threats. The LGU is now focusing on improving peace and order, agriculture, infrastructures, and social services. Assisting agencies, the Department of Agriculture, the SWD, DOH, and they have funding from the German Foundation in environmental programs. Because they did not talk about insurgency so much, Pamana was not mentioned in Hanoi. Okay, experiences in data gathering and use, limited because there was a extension program of UP Visayas. They have the Barangay Integrated Development Approach for Nutrition Improvement. So 6 barangays have become pilot areas, yung version nila ng CBMS, Barangay Management Information System. So starting 2006, there are people already trained to collect data and process data. Funding has ended, but the LGU hopes or encourages the 6 barangays to continuously update this, and they hope that they can do this at the municipal level. Of course, they feel that the available data provided by other national government agencies are ridiculous and not really telling the truth about the conditions of the community. Now for Bulanay, for the FGD participants, and you will see the difference here in terms of perspectives. For students living in rural areas, they fear encounters between NPAs and the military due to the history of conflict. Even if they say that at this point, there is not much conflict. For people living in mountainous areas near the rivers, their constant problem would be flooding and landslides, particularly during typhoons, and of course, limited income and unstable livelihood of their parents, because this will affect their going to school. For Mayor Ojeda and the Municipal Planning and Development Officer, they did not mention insurgency. They mentioned the environmental threats as number 1, like landslides, flooding, and the flowing of waste from the mountains during typhoons. Economic threats, so they are the only CBMS area in Quezon province, so they have data to back up their answers. So according to them, 60% of the population are below poverty threshold, 43.3% are below the food threshold, water and sanitation problems. So 29.8% of the population have no access to safe water, and 50% have no access to sanitary toilets. And this is a very important problem for them. For FGD participants, in terms of their sense of security, some feel secure because they feel certain improvements in the municipality from 5 years ago, but others are not so secure, but this is in the area of their economic and personal security. For Mayor Ojeda, he noted that people now are more empowered, and he said now, as the politicians like himself, he constantly has to be transparent because people now are asking about where money goes and what are the details in certain projects. For the MPTO, people are more secure now than before, and there is already a participatory framework for development. Because according to her, there's human security when people have basic needs, they can stand up for themselves and contribute to development in their communities. In all the 4 areas, I think here, there is greater emphasis on governance and empowerment in terms of how they define human security. In terms of capacity to mitigate threats, FGD participants, because they are students, generally they have a higher rating of their capacity to help themselves because they say they're doing things, magtagtitipid, they walk to school to help their parents in their pagpasada ng pedicab. And they also volunteer to help other students or poor students or out-of-school students. And there are other groups that help. They mentioned that the Philippine Army conducts regular seminars in PUP Mulanay to talk about peace and order problems, and they think this is a positive a positive input to them. You have the church and the youth ministry. Of course, they have credited the existence of PUP Mulanay because they have made education, college education accessible to many people. The alternative learning system, and there are a number of NGOs focused on livelihood. For Mayor Rahena and the MPDO, people have the capacity to mitigate threats, people are now empowered, and there are a number of assisting organizations, and they credited among these the OPAPs, Pamana. But there are so many things actually going on. People are still poor, but there are so many infrastructure projects going on, and in the barangays a lot of livelihood programs. But of course, the mayor pointed out the issue of sustainability after the funding is gone. As I said, Mulanay is the only CPMS area in Quezon Province, but based on the experience of the MPDO, she feels that CPMS is more accurate, but she also hopes that there would be a national standardized, comprehensive data gathering system that will include all the elements, even human security indicators, because it's difficult that you have a different reporting system for the Department of Health, for the ILG, so it makes planning and reporting complicated. Now, Gorsha, in terms of major threats, number one is limited livelihood opportunities. So this is opposed to some of the results of the surveys, and because many of the participants were FGD participants were barangay officials, they pointed out the limited budget of the barangay, very low IRA. Particularly for certain barangays, they complained about the rise in number of youth offenders, limited access to water in mountainous areas, and this is an irony because water supply is actually from the mountains, but they have limited access to safe drinking water. There's farm-to-market roads are lacking, and this affects, of course, the produce of the areas that are very far from the poblacion. And in urban areas, the issue is the lack of housing because the number of informal settlers is rising. For the MPDO, she agreed that definitely there's limited livelihood opportunities, but she's the one who pointed out that one problem is illegal logging and charcoal making in forest areas. And perhaps we can tie this up to the problem of the lack of farm-to-market roads, because according to Ruiz, many people involved here are not big-time loggers, but actually people in the areas who have no sources of income. And both the FGD participants and Ruiz agree that while NPA still pass by Morsha and there are military detachments in Morsha, the NPAs no longer pose a serious threat to their security. Kamag-anak. Okay. And in terms of sense of security, FGD participants feel more secure now, but not everyone because of the problem of crime and limited livelihood opportunities. For Ruiz, there is still much to be done in the area of human security. What is alarming is that in Morsha, there is very low, at least based on the FGD results and the view of the MPDO, very low capacity to mitigate threats. For the FGD participants, there is not much that they can do at the barangay level when it comes to most of the problems like housing and farm-to-market roads. But they agree that they need the national government and NGOs to help them. They said that they have higher hopes now with the new local leadership, but they feel that there should be more investment in infrastructures and basic services. For the municipal planning and development officer, she has problems about the environmental issues like the illegal logging, because she said it's difficult when people are poor and they are the ones involved in illegal logging and they are actually armed. So the forest guards are actually unable to stop them. They have the Bantay Bukid system. In terms of data gathering, they have in the early 1990s to early 2000 some experience with CDMS. They became a pilot area, but this was discontinued due to lack of funding, but if given the funding, they would prefer a community-based management system, and they also agree. I don't know if she's saying that because we are interviewing her, but she said it's also important to have baseline data about the human security threats. So in terms of tentative conclusions and next steps, I think we were able to generate some data, baseline data that can be used not just by us but by other groups who want to track the progress of certain of the 5 municipalities. You can gauge the interventions of the LGUs, national agencies, and international agencies. For the focus group discussions and key informant interviews, they presented additional views and validation, and sometimes they provide contrasting views, but it's also important we still need to follow this up, but at the same time, it's also important to look at how local government officials assess the human security threats in their areas. At the same time, we see the growing importance of communities in generating accurate data that are also community-based, because they feel they need the data for prioritization, planning, assessment, and monitoring. But of course, this will require a lot of investment, not just the willingness of the LGU, but you also need technical support. You also need volunteers and communities who understand the value of having a data gathering and monitoring system. And in the future, we hope to of course, refine further our draft index. At the same time, we want to test the index in other municipalities, because aside from Sadanga, most of our pilot cases are first and second income class municipalities. We also want to test the index in more culturally diverse communities, and also in Mindanao. And at the same time, one positive development at this point is that the center has a small grant from UP to test in one Mindanao municipality. So at least that's one effort. I think, of course, we also want to continue engaging OPAP, UNDP, CPPB here, but also it's important to also seek alternative support, because we want to continue this particular program, not only for the center, but also to help particularly LGUs, which find the index very useful. So thank you very much, and we will appreciate your questions, suggestions, and clarifications.